Good morning. Want to set the table a little bit. I know there was some confusion at the onset today. A lot of you had gotten an email to your respective desks saying that Sergeant Jesse Wood would be here to discuss our back-to-school traffic safety plan. Not true. That's actually going to occur sometime tomorrow morning, 10:30 here at the LEC at headquarters. We're going to have Sergeant Wood available for that, so apologies for the confusion there. Just never let the facts get in the way of some good communication, apparently. But on a brighter note, we have that to look forward to tomorrow, and today we have some important stuff that we want to discuss. I don't think it's any big secret that we have really been challenged, not only this year, but in years past, with the number of guns that have been stolen from lawful gun owners who leave guns in their cars. In just a couple of minutes, Captain Brian Foley, a lot of you know him from our University City Division, he's going to talk about some numbers that we're seeing that are just staggering with the number of people who are having their guns stolen, lawful gun owners having numbers stolen from the car. And we could talk about it. We have talked about it. We've urged our community continually to lock them up, to keep them out of those cars, out of those trucks. We took it a step further this go-around, though, and are actively launching a gun safety campaign that's going to be running through the end of next month. And I'm not going to steal too much of his thunder. I think that the community will find it relevant, timely, and something that'll improve the safety for all of us here in Charlotte. So without further delay, I'd like to bring up Captain Brian Foley to explain what that operation is all about.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone. I'm Captain Brian Foley with the University City Division, and I'm very pleased and want to thank all of you for coming out this morning to be able to talk to you about our kickoff for our gun safety program that we're doing. Just to give you a bit of context about firearms in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, we've had more than 1,700 guns stolen from vehicles, motor vehicles, since 2014. That's just vehicles. That doesn't include residential burglaries or other locations where, for example, firearms might be taken. More than 360 of those firearms have been stolen from vehicles this year alone. Owning a gun comes with great responsibility. Part of that responsibility is to make sure that you safeguard your weapon. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is a method and a way to do that so that you can keep your gun from falling into the wrong hands. We know that concealed carry laws in the state of North Carolina oftentimes prohibit legal gun owners from carrying weapons into facilities like shopping malls, churches, and places of the like. So those legal gun owners oftentimes leave their leave their weapons inside a vehicle. So this safe is part of a project that we are taking on. Hyatt Guns of Charlotte is helping us with this. We're also interested in other vendors that are going to participate in offering these safes to the public at a discount. This particular safe will hold a single handgun. It's a very simple operation to use. It's just a metal box, as you can see. It comes with an attached cord. This cord loops through the seat frame of your vehicle, so it goes around the bottom of the seat frame through the loop, as you can see, like this. This then fits through a hole in the side of the box. When pulled tight, close the lid. Now you have your firearm inside the box with the loop around your seat frame. The time that it takes for an individual to try and defeat this device is significant enough that we believe that they're going to move on to something else. We continually communicate, however, how important it is to lock your vehicles. I can tell you from my experience in University City Division that more than half of the firearms that I see stolen from motor vehicles are because owners of those vehicles just didn't bother to lock the cars. We had a juvenile that we arrested for larceny from auto case recently within the last several months. This individual was about 15 years old, and when our officers encountered him, he was sitting on top of a handgun. That handgun had been stolen from a motor vehicle, an unlocked motor vehicle, several hours before. The potential for a deadly force encounter with an officer is great, and I really want to make sure that everyone understands the importance of the fact that we have youth out here that are holding, carrying, have access to these weapons, and the impact that that has on violent crime in the city is significant. So we're going to take this new approach. We've purchased 100 of these safes called the Show Safe. Lawful gun owners can obtain these safes here at Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Headquarters at no cost. We have how many? I think we have 100.
60 in-house now. We have 40 on order. That should be here before the week's out.
So we have 60 right now, 40 more. Once those are gone, you can then go out to Hyatt Gun Shop and any of the other vendors that we identify to be able to obtain these gun safes. We're going to offer these, I think, at $23 a safe, which if you're a gun owner and you know what weapons cost, that's just a very small amount of money that you should spend to give not only yourself peace of mind, but also to help us reduce the amount of violent crime that we see on the streets. So with that, I will take any questions that you have about this particular program and any other gun safety questions that you might have.
Hey, Kevin, do you think there needs to be a tougher approach with the lawful gun owners leaving their weapons in the vehicles? Should there be some sort of is there a law that maybe, you leave your guns in there, they get stolen, and there's some responsibility?
Lawful gun owners, especially if you follow the permitting process, are supposed to take training, and they're required to take that training by law to understand not only how to utilize the weapon, but to keep it safe. It's very difficult for us to try and legislate good common sense. I had an example just to give you an example, a person who was driving a convertible and went to a restaurant, left the top down on the convertible, noticed that the restaurant prohibited concealed weapons, so they just tucked the gun underneath the front seat of their car and went in to eat. Either somebody saw him do it or just happened to be walking by that car and looked down in, saw the weapon, and it was gone. It really is nothing more than common sense. From the police department's standpoint, we want to get that message out. It has to be a continuous message, which is unfortunate, but we want to make it a strong message that's heard throughout the city that you have to safeguard your weapons. It is critical, not only for your own safety, but for that of other citizens here in Charlotte, because a lot of our violent crime is driven by weapons, and we believe that a significant portion of those weapons come from the thefts of motor vehicles.
Do you think there should be additional sanctions against someone who has a weapon and leaves their car door unlocked? I mean, it's one thing if you lock it, but to leave it unlocked?
That's not for me to say. What I do is I want to make sure that when our officers encounter individuals that own firearms, that we have those discussions and we take those opportunities. Being able to stand here in front of the media today to discuss that is one of those ways that we can be very effective in doing that. We talk about things like auto thefts where people leave their cars running with the keys in the ignition. That would have to be something that the legislation would be discussed. Local politicians, state politicians would have to go over those things.
Can you talk about what these stolen guns are typically used for after they're stolen? Is this mainly violent crimes from your understanding? Is there a gun trade, or what ends up happening to these guns after they're stolen most commonly?
Over time, we have seen both of those things happen. We've seen firearms that are actually transported out of state and sold in other jurisdictions. We've seen those weapons used in armed robberies and the commission of assault to deadly weapons. So there are a number of different ways that those firearms can be used, but we know that they're traded, bought, and sold in the black market outside the scope of what you would normally see. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, we'll leave that behind for you guys, so
Great.
as much video as you need of that. And just to dovetail off what Captain Foley said, on my way in, somebody asked me, well, how did this whole thing come together, this campaign? And as much as we like to take credit for all of this work, this important work, we'd be really remiss if we didn't mention the city of Charlotte. They've taken an active role in helping us facilitate this. With the risk of getting political here, Councilmember Phipps, he was way in front of this several months back, really identified a problem in his particular district, brought some solutions to the table, actually started making phone calls himself and trying to facilitate this whole program. So just hats off to both the city of Charlotte, Councilmember Phipps in particular. We really hope that this will get some traction. Look, if you're gonna spend several $100s for a gun, the least you could do is spend $20 to make sure somebody doesn't steal it, right? Spoke with somebody who is in charge or over reuniting lawful gun owners with their weapons after they've been stolen. He indicated on the phone to me the other day, the overwhelming majority of the gun crime that we're seeing here in our jurisdiction is being committed by people with stolen guns. So for those people at home saying, well, why do I give a rip? I don't own a gun. How does this affect me? It affects all of us. It affects us. It affects business owners, people who live and work in the community. This touches all of us. It's an important issue, and it's something that we really, as a community, need to get our arms around. Okay? Pivot. We're going to shift gears a little bit. several weeks back, we told you that Officer or Detective Roddy with Crime Stoppers is going to make it a point to be at all of these Wednesday get-togethers to illustrate, bring attention, feature a case or a person that we're looking for. I know this morning he's got someone involved, or who was involved in a robbery. I want to say it was late last year, early this year, sometime in December. Some tremendous photos that we want to get out there to the public in hopes of getting someone to pass along some information that will allow our detectives to go ahead and follow up on those leads. So without further delay, Detective Roddy with Crime Stoppers.
Good morning. This Wanted Wednesday, we want to highlight a home invasion that happened in the Westover Division December of last year. It's been almost 9 months, but we want to concentrate on these suspects because of the violence that happened in the commencement of the robbery. We tend to focus on these Wanted Wednesdays. We're trying to get the violent offenders and not so much the property crimes. On 12/21/16, we had two gentlemen on the 2700 block of Watson Drive. Were inside their apartment on the second floor, and there was a knock at the door. The guys came and opened the door. Two suspects came in, forced their way in. There was one gentleman on the balcony that they fired shots at. Prior to, they asked them where the money was. Supposedly that they had some type of money. The guy jumps off the second floor balcony. The other guy goes inside. He falls down on the ground. They leave immediately. So they didn't get anything out of the robbery, but they did go in with the intent and purpose of trying to get some type of money from these gentlemen. These two males, one is a black male around 6 feet tall with a crew cut. That's all we have on him. But the other suspect who did the shooting, we do have a great photo of him, and that's what we're looking to for you guys to send out to see if somebody can identify him. This male that we're talking about that did fire the gun 3 times, he's around 6 feet tall with dreadlocks, as you can see in the pictures. But the key thing we want to state is this young man had a tattoo on his left cheek of a face, a picture of a face, somebody's face, and then also an unknown tattoo on his neck. So those are some identifying features that we want to stress when we do get out the pictures. Both of them were riding in a light blue or silver Chrysler 200. That would be the vehicle that they left in. And also, one of the shots ended up downstairs in another apartment. So we had another victim who was asleep at the time that projectile went down inside his apartment. Nobody was injured, thank God, but we do want to get these guys off the street if somebody can identify them through Crime Stoppers. Each week, we want to also highlight a case that Crime Stoppers has solved. We did get a real good lick recently. Last month, we got a tip about drug activity around the 1800 block of North Sharon Amity Road, and they gave a name of Jonathan Murphy. CMPD investigated. We ended up getting a search warrant, and lo and behold, we got 4 guns off the street. 3 handguns, 2 of the handguns were stolen, and 1 rifle. 1,200 grams of marijuana, $7,300 worth of cash, just by somebody stepping up to the plate and calling Crime Stoppers and letting us know what type of criminal activity was happening in his household. Those are the type of cases we want to stress. Those are the type of cases we want to let you know how the community is stepping up to the plate and reaching out and helping us solve these crimes. For the year, we're at 1,832 tips, 148 arrests, 77 fugitives captured. We paid out $25,000 and we've approved $38,000. So we're still on a record pace this year, and we want to continue up the good work. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
When you said one of the people involved in the home invasion fell on the ground, was that a victim or a suspect?
The suspect, the victim that was on the balcony jumped off the balcony.
And then the other person?
And then the other person just laid down on the ground.
What do you recommend that homeowners do if they're involved in it, if people come in like that?
We always say, whatever they're asking you to do, do. We don't ask you to be any type of hero. Just follow instructions, do whatever they say do, and you know, you hope for the best, basically, that they're going to leave without you getting hurt.
Thanks.
All right, we appreciate it. And just just, we're going to beat this drum to death. He talked about those numbers, 178, 179 arrests so far this year, attributed directly to community members who stepped up and called, passed that information along. 5 homicide suspects directly picked up, arrested because of community tips. 704-334-1600. We don't need to know where you live, who you are. Don't have to testify in court. All we need is that information and allow our detectives to go ahead and follow up on it. I want to bring in, I know a couple of you, I spoke with you on the telephone prior to today's event, and I want to bring in Captain Chris Dozier. There's been some questions about some recent cases, homicides in particular. I want to bring Chris up to kind of walk you through, answer any questions that you may have lingering there, and, well, I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll just let Chris talk about that. Chris Dozier.
Morning.
Morning.
All right, I'll be happy to answer anything I can about any questions you have.
Just a follow-up to yesterday's shooting at the Queen City Skillsville, about someone's legal right. Are people legally allowed to defend someone with lethal force other than themselves, like in the case yesterday where they saw a gun pointing at someone else and someone opened fire to protect that person? Can you talk about people's legal rights defending someone besides themselves?
Sure, yes, absolutely. If a person sees that third parties in danger, that their life's in danger, they can defend that person as well with lethal force.
Are there any different options in there, things they have to weigh, or as soon as they see someone is in danger and could be potentially killed, then they're allowed to take that forward?
Yeah, they have to reasonably believe that the person's life's in danger and to use lethal force against the person threatening the third party.
Out on Albemarle Road this morning, was that a security guard?
Yes, it was a security person that works for the business, yes.
Can you walk us through pretty much the sequence of events?
What we know is that 2 subjects entered the business. They were armed, they were masked up, and they leveled a firearm. And as soon as they did that, the security guard saw the threat. He pulled his own weapon and fired 1 time, struck one of the suspects. Both of the suspects then left the building, and he knew that he had potentially hit one of those armed subjects. So we did a search and located him a short distance away.
Was he, because he was a security guard, was he required to give any kind of verbal warning or anything like that? Or did he ask the subject to put his gun down?
No, in situations like that, there's no legal justification to have to warn somebody that they're getting ready to use deadly force. It so rapidly evolved that he did what he felt he had to do to protect the people in the business.
What can you tell us about the outer bridge at this point?
At this point, we know that 2 subjects entered the residence and made demands, and during the attempted robbery, they shot both of the subjects in the home. We know that one of the victims is still at the hospital in critical condition, and we'll update that as soon as we hear more, but as of now, that's his condition. The other victim received non-life-threatening injuries and was able to give us some good information, but right now that's all we have.
Did the victims offer any kind of resistance? I mean, why did they have to, or why did they resort to gunfire? Have you been able to determine that?
Well, that's certainly one of the things we're looking at is why was there such brutality? Why did this occur if they were cooperating? All indications were they were cooperative, and that this was that the suspects, they were not. There was nothing that would have like a struggle or resistance to the robbery that would have made them do this.
Do you know whether or not did they know these folks? Any idea on that, or was this completely random?
I don't want to use the word random just because of the brutality. There seemed to be some intent, so further than that, I can't comment on it, but I would not use the word random based on the circumstances.
Captain, how did they get in the house? Was the house?
Right now, we don't know for sure how they entered the house. There was no forced entry into any of the exterior doors, so right now we're still working on that, figuring out exactly what they did to get in, to gain entry.
There are obviously a lot of people in that neighborhood who are very, very concerned and worried, and given the level of violence here, how concerned should they be?
Well, obviously, until we know who we're dealing with and we have suspects in custody, they should have a heightened awareness of their surroundings and what's going on, and protect themselves against any concerns they may have. But again, to say that this was a random act, I think would be speculative at this point. But anytime you have people out there that are capable of doing this that we haven't brought into custody yet, we just say to individuals, you need to make sure that you protect yourselves and, again, have a heightened awareness of your surroundings, comings and goings, and anybody suspicious in the neighborhood. And if you do notice anybody suspicious or anything out of the ordinary, certainly call us. Suspicious cars, suspicious people walking, any activity you even think just in the back of your mind may be unusual, certainly call us and we'll follow up.
Captain,
was it their father or son?
Yes, it was. Mhm.
Did they both live at their residence?
They did, yes.
All right, Captain,
All right.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Anything lingering before we head out? Anything for the greater good? Alex, of course. Morning.
I don't know if you know the specifics, but if you could maybe just in general, if you could generally address this, we've seen some real violence. I just picked up a police report with sporting events. There was just people playing at a basketball game on Wallace, and shots were fired during an argument. And a couple weeks ago, there were several people brutally beaten up during a soccer game in Valentine. If you know the specifics, great. If you could just generally address kind of anything about that situation that we've seen, just senseless people playing fun games, sports, and ending up in the hospital.
Yeah, especially when it relates to young people. I think that we've really worked hard to engage with young people as an organization, as a city. Several hundred young people a year are diverted through our diversion program, really working hard to identify opportunities for young people. What's the answer to this? Probably people a lot smarter than me can get that figured out. I will say, though, from an organizational standpoint, we really work hard to work with these young people, try to offer them different options. That diversion program, for anyone interested, I'd be more than happy to talk about it offline with you. The work that we're doing through our diversion program to turn these young people around, these at-risk people around, is just nothing short of amazing. Sounds like one of the incidents that you're referencing involved young people, and that's disappointing, right? People should be able to have the opportunity during the afternoon to go and play a little basketball without having to worry about being a victim of a violent crime. And it's really heartbreaking to know, and we do know oftentimes, that young people are involved in that behavior. I will say this, though, it's not a lost cause. We're going to triple down our efforts as an organization. We need to do it as a community, too, to ensure they're getting everything they need, the support that they need, and the opportunities available. Who else?
They want to do B-roll on this.
Yes, we're going to leave that behind. Thank you. We're going to leave that behind for anyone interested in getting some B-roll of the gun locks, and appreciate the turnout this morning. Thanks.